Turn my thoughts within, dear Lord, for here is where you dwell, in your kingdom nestled in my heart, where everything is well. I turn my thoughts within, dear God, and find pure love and peace. Harmony, the watchword here, apparent doubt and discord cease. For here is where I find the truth. There is one, the all in all, the truth that makes me free to be. I heed its every call. I turn within, dear Lord, for there you dwell, in my heart of hearts, where all is well. The love, the peace and joy that is spirit expressed, I find 'tis me, dear God, and make manifest. I turn within, dear Lord, for there you dwell, in my heart of hearts, where all is well. The love, the peace and joy that is spirit expressed, I find 'tis me, dear God, and make manifest.
Oh, the love, the peace, and the joy that is spirit expressed. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living, to this beautiful Thursday evening's program, LifeLine. We're so grateful to have you join us for this hour of connectivity, livity, love, and laughter, as we look at how to thrive and remain spiritually centered in this earthly experience. We're truly grateful to have you, each and every one of you, join us. You know, we created this program to provide spiritual tools and strategies to enable each one of us to rise above and consciously respond to any challenges that come our way, and to support each other in moving from a fear-based consciousness to a faith-based thinking and feeling. We have a wonderful guest this evening, and I'll tell you about her in a little bit. But as we begin all things at the Temple of Light, we do so with prayer. And I'd like to invite our senior pastor, Reverend Michelle Senegal, to open us with an affirmative prayer. Reverend Michelle.
Thank you, Sandy. So if we could take that journey inward and take 3 deep cleansing breaths, breathing in love and exhaling peace. The peace that passes all understanding. And what I know is that God is love, God is peace, God is whole, God is perfect. And I, made in the image and likeness of God, embrace and exude these same qualities and faculties. I'm giving thanks for this rendition of LifeLine tonight, blessing our wonderful speaker, Reverend Ruth Littlejohn, blessing Sandy Cooper for hosting this event and the technical support that we receive in advance, and Steve. I'm so grateful and thankful for the technology that enables us to connect on relevant subjects that are near and dear to our hearts, or subjects that provoke deep thought. So I am knowing that the unfoldment of perfection is happening right now as this event, this conversation. I know in the mind of God it's complete, it's perfect in every way, and we're participating in that outpicturing as perfection. The laws of existence are conspiring to this end, and it can only be absolutely wonderful, marvelous, informative, revealing, and healing. So I release my word now, knowing that it is so. And we anchor this prayer by affirming, and so it is.
It is.
So it is.
Thank you, Reverend
Yes.
Michelle. Friends, our guest this evening is an ordained religious science minister who embraces her wholeness, worthiness, risk-taking, vulnerability, and commitment to service. Affirmations in her mirror include, "Good morning, gorgeous," and "Later is better." She's a life coach for women over 45. She has held leadership roles in private industry, in insurance and pharmaceuticals, marketing and education. In the Centers for Spiritual Living community, she has served as staff minister, founding spiritual leader, and currently as co-spiritual director of Magnificence Collective Focus Ministry, supporting spiritual and religious communities to create and sustain cultures of inclusion and belonging. Our guest has a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from Norfolk State University and 3 master's degrees, one from the Holmes Institute in Ministry, from American University National Training Laboratories in Human Resource Development. And is it Lehigh or Leahy?
Lehigh.
Lehigh is fine.
Lehigh University in Administration and Supervision. She embodies a true spirit of adventure and inquisitiveness, which peaks when she experiences different cultures. On a visit to Barbados, she requested to be a guest in Parliament and had the personal escort of a minister for the duration of her trip. During the apartheid struggle, she hosted several radio shows to keep her community updated and engaged, and with her consciousness, demonstrated 2 all-expense-paid trips to South Africa, one of which was as guest speaker at a conference. She's intrigued by new experiences and undaunted by the how. She credits practitioner work, counseling, and other personal development retreats in Mexico, Jamaica, and as some of the experiences that supported her in letting go fear, what ifs, questions about how something will work, and thoughts of I don't have enough, all packed in her high-end backpack. Done, dropped, let go. At 78, she is fueled by her thirst for learning and creating environments for others to be empowered. She refers to this part of her life as working differently, as she is resistant to the traditional meaning of the word retirement. She lives in Virginia Beach, Virginia, near her family. And yes, she still has things yet to be revealed. So friends, to talk about making the rest of your life the best of your life, please join me in welcoming our special guest this evening, Reverend Ruth Littlejohn. Welcome, 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 Reverend Ruth. It is our pleasure to have you as our guest.
Thank you, Sandy.
So tell me about this topic. It's one that's near and dear to my heart. And we heard that you were the best there is to just elucidate a bit on it so that we can have a full conversation about what we can do to make the rest of our life the best of our life.
Well, I certainly appreciate you hosting it and appreciate the invitation from Reverend Michelle. And I guess the best place for me to start is that I was raised traditional Christian. And so basically, you know, mothers do the very best they can with you. And so we would be working very hard. And our question was always like, why are we working so hard? And the answer would be, well, because you'll get your reward in heaven. Well, that just never sat well with me. I'm just saying. So that part of life just didn't work for me. Yes. That and the fact that I was sort of mischievous. I always had a lot of sin coming my way. So when I got a chance to look at what's next in my life, it was in 1990 when I walked into a Science of Mind community at a Holiday Inn in Philadelphia. Mm. And as I walked through the door, they were playing this song called Brand New World. And what I heard was that I was whole, complete, magnificent, and joyful, and there was nothing I could ever do that would negate that. And I figured, well, this is the place for me. and I didn't have any sin. And so that's when I started to look at how life could be different. And then, of course, I took all the classes, and then I wanted to be a practitioner. And this is persistence. For 4 years, I kept saying, Reverend Bruce, we're going to have a practitioner class this year. And he said, well, no, Ruth, we only have 2 people, and home office won't allow us to do that. So I wrote down, we're going to have a practitioner class. And we had a practitioner class. It was the only practitioner class in CSL, or I forgot what we were called then, that they brought people from around our area, and we met once a month. And that's how we had the practitioner class. And it was in that practitioner class that I got clear that my life could be different, that I didn't have to wait to go to heaven, that I could create here, that I could do my own work. Because, in practitioner 1, it's that I call it the most painful part of it, where it talks about how your life got to be this way. And so, so that's when it all started, because I got the glimpse that it didn't have to be that way. Yes. And so what helped me in that class, it allowed me to deal with the stuff I had collected in the rest of my life. Now, probably nobody else has a backpack that they've collected of things that they are holding on to. Probably just me, And me, I'm always, if I'm going to have one, it's going to be magnificent. So this is my backpack. You just can't get any old backpack. But what I'd noticed is I had packed a lot of stuff in my backpack, which was slowing me down, which was having me think a certain way, that I always had to look at how things were going to go bad. And so in the backpack, I had the fear that things might happen. If I tried it, something could happen. I got fired from a job, but that's embarrassing. I flunked out of Howard University. Now, that was heavy, heavy, heavy. So that was in my bag. So weighing me down, colorism, I'm too dark. Now, probably nobody else has that but me. I'm just saying. Fear of looking bad. And the other one was just childhood trauma you pick up. I went to school in Washington, D.C. and all of that. So those were things in my backpack that had me feel like, girl, you can't do very much. And in that class, we got to look at how my life got to be that way. And I got clear that I could create something different and something new. And so that was the gift of science of mind for me. Dr. Holmes always says, do your work first. Now, I'm from the South, but in the South, what they tell you, as women, you don't do anything first in the South. I'm just saying. You last to eat, you last to sit down. So, that was the Southern way. So to get somewhere, somebody says that you can deal with yourself first was like, voila. It was just a big, big world for me. So science of mind just sort of opened my life up in so many ways. While at that center, I found my mentor, Reverend Sheila Pierce, who's now deceased. And she started to help me look at how I could create my life differently. So that was the practitioner work. During that time, I was working in insurance industry and also working in the pharmaceutical industry in terms of doing different work. And that science of mind helped me there because it helped me change my thinking. Because, growing up in our environment, it was that we had to work 3 times harder. And probably nobody else got that. Our parents did things to protect us. And so when I start to interpret 3 times harder, why I got them paying me 3 times more? So I had to rethink that. Yeah. And so the whole idea of saying that I could change my thinking allowed me to do that. And so being able to do that and being able to speak forward about what was going on allowed me to move through insurance leadership and also pharmaceutical with great mentors. And I got to the point where I really was, how can I say this? It was during the time when they were creating companies, they were combining companies, re-engineering companies. There's always a merger. And every time a merger comes, they want you to deep down and work 100%. After the 4th merger, I didn't have any more. I couldn't dig any further. So I decided that it was time for me to leave. And with all of you can imagine all the fear of leaving a steady check and deciding that I am going to go out on my own. I did tell my family because, that was, they were in Virginia Beach. They would have committed me right then. I'm just saying,
Indeed, indeed.
So I did go out and start a company doing coaching, team building, and diversity work. And I had a mentor there we had Patty Miller, and others were mentors who supported me in doing things differently. Let's see, what else can I say for you? After I did the classes and started my own company, I then decided, well, I'm going to go to ministerial school. Now, I haven't seen a school. You can look at the degrees I have. Is that I love going to school. So I decided I was going to go to ministerial school because I thought that would be something that I would expand me and that I could contribute. And in ministerial school, a number of major things happened. It helped me get clear what my priorities were. So I got clear that my priority was, number one priorities was a spiritual connection. My second priority was really dealing with myself. Third priority, if I could say the words would be helpful, was really creating relationships with my family. And also using my gifts. Now, one of the challenges of doing that is that my family still can't figure out how they could be the fourth priority. So what I had to say to them, in order for me to have something to give, I've got to have some connection.
Correct. Yeah.
And so those priorities have helped me move through life, because that's how I spend my money, that's how I spend my time. And so those keep me grounded. And so that's been really, really helpful. In ministerial school, I got a mission. My mission is to communicate and facilitate wholeness for myself and others. So how to be connected. And so those things in ministerial school really helped me move forward. Let's see, what else can I say that would be helpful? When I got out of ministerial school, I have a tendency to get stopped every now and then. And I got stopped because I didn't think I wanted to be a minister. And everybody kept saying, you spent how much money? And you traveled to San Diego how many years? And you don't want to be a minister? What is wrong with you? So really what I got in touch with, and classes helped me to do that, is that in my community, women were not ministers. And so I got some work with practitioners to move through that. And practitioners have been a major part of my just growth. Along with counseling and some of the other, I'm always looking for another way to develop. Every year, I'm in something that's going to help me develop. Now, I admit I've done some crazy things. I've done some outward bound, and I might have done some illegal ayahuasca. I might have done some crazy stuff. I'm just saying, I've done retreats in Jamaica, Mexico, but it's always trying to free me up, more space, and more availability. So I finally, after visioning with the minister for about 3 months, came to Virginia Beach to start a new center here, Hampton Road Center for Spiritual Living. And Reverend Michelle has been very helpful in that part of my journey. I am known to be, probably if I was in school, they'd probably say I was a attention deficit. What does that look like? It looks like I'm the kind of person who I like to plant things. I like to see it grow and water it. That could be about 7 years. And then it's like, I want to do something else. And so that's been the pattern of my life, whether it's work, relationships too, I must admit. And also, the work that I've done. And so this center, I was pleased because, again, I'm committed to creating environments so people can feel empowered. And there people were able to thrive through cancer, go back to school. Some people moved, did things that they wanted to do. So that was empowering for me. Again, I'm still working with Reverend Sheila to do that. So that's been my journey. After the 7 years were up, I have now been doing coaching with women 45 and plus, and also doing diversity equity work with through the Focus Ministry. And so that's my journey right now. I mean, I love I love art. I mean, when I was getting ready to go to college, I was the first of 13 grandchildren to go to college, and I was going to go to fine arts. Well, you can imagine. They said, "Girl, you better get a real major." So I mean, that's so I never took a fine arts class. I'm just saying. However, what I've noticed is I love going to museums. Went to a Jamaica exhibit. So I love going to museums. It shows up in my clothes. It shows up in a lot of things. But that was a place that I sort of got different. So I'm always looking at if I can't do it here, how can I do it there? It's very, I'm not the kind of person who can get stopped. Let me put it that way. And is that what else would be helpful?
I'm talk a little bit about, you know, I'm hearing a lot about what you have done, and that, of course, has brought you to where you are now. So, you know, I mean, this could have been a last question, but I'm feeling moved to ask.
That's all right. What? No, that's hey.
What is really moving you now? You know, as you are in this part of your life.
Well, you know, when I got to this part of life, I'm like Reverend Michelle. For whatever reason, I labeled this chapter 3. And there were things I wanted to accomplish in chapter 3. And it, in terms of I look at my legacy, one of the big things I've contributed to is our family. We have family reunion that's been going for 30 years, every other year. And young people are now doing. We had a cousins weekend that goes on. And so just wanting to find ways so family could heal, so we could talk. And that's been something I'm very proud of. We've been doing that for about 25 years. And what happens on Friday, all of the cousins 18 years older who are female get together. And the confidential, and we share things that, you know, so people don't feel like they were the only ones. You know how you feel like when they hear, you know, people just fell out when they heard I flunked out of Howard, because the possibility that I could flunk out of anything didn't exist for people, really. But so people could start to see, okay, this is okay. And so we talked about some other very private sexual abuse that came up, and people, you know, everybody was thinking, so my commitment to family has been real important in terms of how I can do that. So that's one of the things that I'm still concerned about. Right now, one of my list is to generate money that would allow me to have a fund for our family reunion so that people could go to Africa. And the reason, I don't want to get emotional, the reason I get to that is because there's something about going to a country that's run by people who look like you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, you know, I think when I first went to Barbados, I saw it, and Senegal and some of the other places, but I want people to have that feel. And then, because you know how powerful you are, you know where you come from. So that's a part of the legacy for me, would be creating mental health opportunities and also money for travel. I'm also doing work with young people, and usually it's one-on-one, to really hear what's going on with them, and also to keep me up on the language, because, you know, if I didn't talk to them, I would think tea was Lipton tea. And I mean, you know,
isn't it?
Huh?
Oh no, oh no. You know, it's the dirt, it's the gossip. You gotta spill the tea.
Okay.
So that's why I hang out, because otherwise they'd be talking about you. You know, so I do listen to one of the stations here, and I hang out with young people to hear what's going on with them. And so I hear them say, Reverend Ruth, we don't want to talk about slavery, but we want to know our history. And so you got to now talk about, we can't have our history without talking about slavery. So those are the commitments to family, to creating more communities where people can do church differently.
Yes.
And what I mean by that, after the pandemic was everything needs to change. We're not going back to the old normal. And that's been a difficult thing for many of the churches and communities to get. So really looking at what does that look like? We did some work with a community, Reverend Champion, who's they are my business partner. And in the church, one of the people said, like, you know, we're tired of people standing up talking to us. We would like to maybe one month have a workshop, but we're just tired of the way things are going. And so that's our role, is how can we help people look at how to do church differently?
Yeah.
And so those are the kinds of things that I'm excited about right now. Now, on the other end, I would love to find a companion. Well, we'll see how that unfolds. I'm still in the hopeful.
Some correct collective prayer work around that. You know, something that in your resume that stood out for me, and it's first of all, you did 3 masters. How come you chose to do 3 masters rather than do a master's and then a PhD?
I am a person that when I want a job or something, I go get what's necessary.
Mhm.
I started to work for a community college,
Mhm.
and I developed a program where people who could have graduated from college couldn't find a job, or you could have gotten out of jail on Friday and you couldn't find a job. And so I created something called the working class. And
Mhm.
so I set it up like a working class. In order to work at the community college, I just left corporation, been fired. And so I went to the community college, and they could not pay me even close to what I was getting.
Mhm.
And so so I asked, I said, what do I need to do? They said, you need to get a master's degree. So I called around and asked all the universities in the area, where can I get a master's degree in a year? And Lehigh University said, we can do it for you. So
Okay.
therefore,
Okay.
I went to, I went my summer at Lehigh. And so I got that master's.
Okay.
Then when I was working for Hartford Insurance Company, they were going through this team building and all the changes, and
Yes.
people
Yes.
kept saying, bring your whole self to work, but people were not ready for the whole self.
Mhm.
And so when I talked to the senior vice president about it, he said, well, there's this program at American University National Training Lab that we pay for, that it's a 2-year program. And so that's where I went to get that.
You know, that is what stood out for me, because we brought that program to Jamaica, but at the time the partnership with AU had ended. And so they did the collaboration with the University of Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
So they came to Jamaica every
Mhm.
month for 2 years.
Yep.
And we went through the whole gamut. And the partnership with NTL was really powerful.
Yep.
Because our program was psychology and HRD.
Yep. Same thing. Yeah.
And the premise was how you cannot be an effective agent of change dealing with HR issues,
Right.
if you really don't know who you are. So our experience was 93 to 95.
Yep.
With UC and NTL.
Yeah.
And certainly the experience with that program was in such alignment with what I was learning at the temple at the time.
Exactly. Science of mind.
It really made a difference in terms of who I was being as an HR practitioner rather than what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that has stayed with me, because I do work from the inside out rather than, focus on the content, be a good supervisor, do emotional intelligence, etc. So that was an extremely powerful program, and I'm sure you found it so too.
Yeah. So I get that question frequently from people. How come you don't have a PhD? I said, well, and then I wanted to go to ministerial school. It's like, oh, another one. So that's how I got all those masters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything in the chat yet, Steve or Vance? Any questions coming up? I haven't seen anything in the chat here. So,
but I have a question I'd like to ask Reverend Ruth.
Sure.
Reverend Ruth, what I know about you is, based on this theme, make the rest of your life the best of your life. Can you talk about your interests and your regiments in terms of your physical well-being? What are some of the things that you do?
Okay. Well, I did say the second thing was my self in terms of priorities. And so I when I get up in the morning, I stretch, I touch the ground. And the good news is that I'm able to get up. That's always a good sign. So I do that. I do spiritual practices every morning. I always say it's like the American Express card. I don't leave home without it. So I'm doing that. And that that's meditation, that's prayer. And I do some other parts that I won't talk about on the line, but I do that because I want to get, this is a temple that I've been entrusted with. And so I'm always looking, how can I keep it at its prime? So, eating how I eat is another thing that's very important to me. I used to play tennis. I never played with Michelle because I know she could beat me. So I'm just saying. So I now walk. I moved to town center, so I walk. But it is so important that I used to call my body like a Rolls Royce, but the young people told me now I'm a Bugatti. So you got to catch up. You just can't be, you just can't.
Rolls Royce are obsolete.
So it really is, as a second priority for me. I'm always looking at how can I take care of this temple that I've been entrusted with. And if I'm being really honest, there's a little vanity in there too. I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
But what about, do you still do Pilates? Are you still using your mini trampoline? Because everything she tries, I end up trying.
Yeah, I do have a trampoline. I do a trampoline, and I did Pilates for 4 years, which was very helpful. And now what I do is Yin yoga,
Mhm.
and Yin yoga is on the ground, and so it helps you with your flexibility and mobility. So
Mhm.
that's a part of my program, and so it's probably about an hour or more that I'm committed to, keeping this temple in good shape,
Mhm.
because it also helps, when you're feeling good, your thoughts, all kinds of thoughts and things happen. It just opens me up in a number of ways. Yeah. So yeah, that's my second priority. Yeah, for sure.
I'd love for our listeners to really get that, the value of letting go of the stuff that we carry.
That backpack, you
You
mean? Yeah.
spoke of it, yes. The stuff that's in your backpack. And certainly this next third, this next 1/3 of my life, and I think we agree to that. It's important now for us to really go back into that backpack, because we let go, but the more we let go, the more there is stuff to let go. At least I found that, stuff is coming up, stuff keeps coming up. But last night I had a dream, and when I really looked at the dream, I could see that there are things there that I haven't thought about in years. And if we pray for cleansing and healing, then stuff is going to come up for us to look at. So we really, really need to spend some time doing that cleaning and clearing. And remember, the universe abhors a vacuum. So when we clear that, there's going to be some, after we affirm what we want, I'm sure that spirit will respond.
Oh yeah, that cleansing is so important. And for me, the biggest piece was just forgiving myself. That whole bit about forgiving myself. And sometimes we think of it, as like seasonal cleaning, but forgiveness for me is every morning I have to ask, what am I to forgive myself for? What do I forgive others for? Because it's an ongoing process, I find. And so the spiritual tools that from Science and Mind have just supported me in just changing from that person who was waiting to go to heaven. Really.
I'd like to just share with you all on that subject about cleaning out the backpack. I'm doing a class currently, and so we had a declutter assignment. And the interesting thing, people came today to report on the decluttering, and yeah, it happened in the physical space, but most of it was emotional.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So just I realized that there are things that I was holding on to. These are some of the comments that are keeping me back: unforgiveness, not feeling though I'm enough, and letting go of things because of emotional attachment to them, even though those things are not serving me well, but there is that emotional attachment to them. And so I knew that it was going to happen on the physical plane, but I also knew that people were going to have a lot of emotional responses to the entire process. And so some folks are unpacking the backpack. Which is a good thing.
Yeah, lightening their load so they can live their best life. I know for me, I had a picture of 3 men who had been very instrumental in my life, and I had it framed. I can be anal sometimes, so I went over to Michael's when they had a sale, and I had it all framed, and then I spoke about it on Sunday. And then after speaking about it, what really hit me is that one of those people were not very good to me. But can you see how I thought that I needed to keep that person there?
Yes.
And so after getting in touch with all of that and writing about it, I then changed it. So sometimes we just hold on to things. It's like a piece of property. Because it's old and somebody gave it to me and da 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 da. And all of that is the holding on.
I'm going to use it. I'm going to fit into it again. And
Well, you don't want to hear Michelle knows my thing. Every season, if I haven't worn it, I give it away.
It's out.
Yeah. So sometimes you see me wearing some strange things during the summer because I don't want to give it away. I'm just saying. But I do believe that you've got to free yourself up. And so I'm really into doing that. Yeah.
In my life this year, there are quite a number of persons that I know well who have been close to me that have passed.
Yeah.
And so for the first time, I've have become really, really present
Yeah.
to the end
I
of
agree.
life. And so this topic has been important to me because I'm still breathing.
Yeah.
So until such time that the breath leaves my body, what am I going to do now? Reverend Michelle, I'm going to come to you to really have you coach me around completing my book. But
Okay.
that is an action that I need to take, because a lot of time, many of us will have ideas in our mind. I'm going to do, it would be nice if, I would love to go, and these ideas come and we don't take action on them.
Yeah.
I mean, I can show you the plan. I mean, this is my book plan, but I get excited doing the plan. I'm not writing the book.
Well, it reminds me, you know, when we started practitioners, they asked us to, what would you do if you knew you could be successful? To
Yeah.
write all those things down. What could you be? What could you do if you knew you could be successful? And
Yeah.
usually I add to that, what do we need to take out of our backpack to lighten our load? And so those two allows us to move on. And the tools we have in Science of Mind of just, I can't tell you, some people say, how did you get through the pandemic? I got through the pandemic because of the Science of Mind principle tools.
Yep.
That's how I got through the pandemic. I knew we were going to get on the other side. And so I had a chance to do other things. So I think the tools we have are so powerful. And then the mentors we get to do is also powerful. And just using them. I remember working for, maybe it was an insurance company. Yeah, it was an insurance company. And I was always trying to figure out how can I help the community. And so I decided that we wanted to have a summer school for young people, Black young people, through the Urban League. Now my boss said, well, Ruth, how does this relate to underwriting? I said, you know, I don't know, but I'll tell you by the end of the summer. How about that? And so I was always looking at how can I make things work? Because I think the fact that I get to do this, I stand on the shoulders of my enslaved ancestor, Peter and Elsie Littlejohn, and my grandfather and my mother. It's not just because I'm good looking. Well, which I am, but I mean, yeah.
But it's not just that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just feel an obligation whenever there's an opportunity to create a way that I can be of service and create environments for people to be empowered and inspired. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
I'm
that
seeing
keeps
in
me
the
going.
chat, Reverend Sonia, she says, this lady is mesmerizing. And then she says, hopeful one, we need to do things differently. I agree. And then Steve, well, of course, channeling Reverend Sonia, she said, she is enough, just taking in her spirit, nothing to add. She's saying it all.
Very joy. Thank you. Yeah.
Um,
And I haven't finished, you know, my 80th birthday. My plan, well, I did take flight. I took 42 hours of flying a plane. I mean, you don't
you learned to fly.
Yeah, I just thought that freedom of it all. The problem was when I had to land. They asked me to land. I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to work. So that was so my 80th birthday, my intention is to go to North Carolina and do a parachuting out of a plane. I'd love to do that. Yeah. So I'm always looking for something that's adventurous. Now I don't know why I'm going to North Carolina, whether I think I'm going to run into the Wright brothers. I don't know, but that's just great.
So if persons were to ask you, say, okay, so if I have 20 years left on this planet, what would I need to do to make those be the best 20 years of my life?
I would say first get clear what your priorities are. Once we get clear what our priorities are, then we can look at how we do our time and how we do our money. So getting those priorities are so important. When I got clear what my priorities are, it made a huge difference in how my money was spent and how I spent my time. And then come up with a vision. What am I here for? I think we all come on this planet with, I call it an assignment. And what is it? And how am I willing to do that? And every end of each year, how close am I doing that? When I do message, you know, that little dash when we pass away, you have when you were born and when you die. And we really are working on that dash. That's really what it is. Yeah. But those two things, having my priorities and also having a vision. Whatever happens, I can always say, where are we? Where am I, Ruth? What's going on? Now, there'll be some folks who, how can I say this? When you and I decide to change, it can be a challenge for our friends and family.
Oh, yeah.
Because they'll say, well, you used to be. I say, yeah, but that was 2 weeks ago. I'm somebody else now. Because it upsets people because it changes how they relate to you. They don't know how to relate to you anymore. So that's the other piece. So I've got to create a way where I can create some safety for them. Right now, Thanksgiving, my family told me the last year that I'm still the most eclectic relative in the family. Now, I guess that was a compliment.
You still have that title? You still have that title?
I'm still the most eclectic. They were strange. They didn't want to say strange and weird.
I
So
know.
it's a big word about in the family. Now that has to do with that my eating habits are a tad strange. And so I don't want the hostess to have to worry about what is Ruth eating today. So I usually bring my meal and my dessert. And so that's what they mean, because, I don't eat beef. I don't eat this. I don't eat that. And people just like, oh God, what does she eat? Now, apparently I eat something because I'm not very thin. So, but that's the kind of thing I say that because when you and I decide we're going to change, it upsets people sometimes. It makes it uncomfortable. And so I have to be willing to deal with that, to listen to it and to check in with people around it. Even though I've always been the one who's done things differently, there's still this wondering about what is she going to do next? Yeah.
What would you say to someone who really hasn't a clue what they want to be, do, or have for the next 20 years?
I would suggest that they either sign up to be coached by Reverend Michelle or myself, or have a workshop started at your center around coaching for life, and start to writing. One of the things is start journaling. These are the things I want to be or do. These are the things that are important for me. That's how I started with my priorities. I listed all the things that were important, and then I looked at categories. So once people start to do that and start to deal with what's in their bag, some people, I had one bag. Some people got 5 pieces of luggage. I'm just saying. So, and it's usually it's very high end luggage. I'm just saying too. So you got to start having people things that somebody happened to me. My mama did this, my so-and-so did this, and so-and-so never did this. All of those things you've got to deal with. Because when you leave them in there a long time, they get bigger than they were.
Some of us don't even know what we have in that backpack.
Well, in practitioner 1, how my life got to be this way, or in a class, you'll start to get that kind of thing. And sometimes you have to be patient. I remember my mother comes from a generation, she's one of 13, comes from a generation where hugging, they didn't hug. They didn't have time to hug or to say, I love you. And so, as we got older, we had to help her, So I would start hugging, get off me, girl. And so finally she got fine with us hugging her. And she started to appreciate it. But growing up in the time that they were on a farm, they had to do the farm. So I think some of it is being willing to support other people, even though they're not where you're going.
The other thing I want to share with you is something that Reverend Ruth always says, and it resonates with me. So she says, what brings you joy? She always talks about that. What brings you joy? And the things that bring you joy, the things that you're passionate around, the things that energize you are the things that you're supposed to be doing. And the interesting thing is that you have all that you need to step into that. Everything that you need to support you in being joy-filled, you have. It's right there. It's available. So I would also add to Reverend Ruth's list, do what brings you joy. Because then you vibrate at a higher level, and then you start to attract at that level of frequency.
Thank you for reminding me of that, Michelle. The piece I'd like to put into there, I'd make the distinction between joy and happiness. Joy is like if you can imagine you had a joy fountain at the very center of your being, and it keeps spouting up as you meditate and you keep doing those things. So it's an internal experience. So I can always be joyful. I might not always be having happy out there. So just getting clear what that is. And joy for me is not what other people call joy. I remember when I finished college, I thought being happy was being visible, being known as a person. Call Ruth Littlejohn. She can tell you where the happy hour is. I was on it. that was being happy by other people's standard. And I had to let that go and move into a different place. I feel like I've been talking a lot, folks. What else?
I'm looking in the chat. Arlene is just reiterating the question, what am I here for? You know, yeah, it's a question that some of us really are not so clear about. And perhaps visioning can be a good
Oh yeah, I'm a big visioner. Yeah.
thing to do, to just ask spirit, what am I here for? What is your highest vision of me in terms of what I need to do for the rest of my life? You know, yeah.
And I think being
always comes.
Yeah. And I think being careful that it doesn't, sometimes we think it's a huge thing. I had a person who worked with me, and she kept saying, what am I here for? What am I do? She'd been the administrative assistant for 3 startup centers. I said, apparently your administrative ability to help people get started and sustain is, as they call it, is your sauce. Now, you got to keep up with this stuff. It's the sauce, the secret sauce. So, but so sometimes we think it's this huge thing, but it's the thing that you get joy out of, that I get joy out of doing. Like I've been a big sister for a lot of times. Not that I wanted these little girls to grow up to be like me. I just wanted them to have an option in their lives of how they could be.
You spoke about time and money. And I know that some people declare that time and money are stoppers for them. I don't have the time. I can't afford it. What would you say to those persons?
I work with people on doing their spiritual practice, which is usually I don't have time to do my spiritual practice, Reverend Ruth. So the first thing I have them to do is to do a week diary, a diary of what they do. And then we look at that diary and say, how much time do you need for spiritual practice? Now, what can you let go of so you can put spiritual practice in there? The reason being is many people look at spiritual practice. If I also did some clay, I did clay. When you go to a clay studio, you do these pots and then they fire them up. So many of us will have the pot fired and then we want to add a handle on it. The handle did not get fired, so it falls off.
Right.
Same thing for spiritual practice. Until we find a space for spiritual practice, not jam it in, not try to fit it in, but to actually have it be a part of your day. Now, I must admit, I do psych myself. Sometimes I don't have a lot of dates. So, spiritual practice, at least I have one date every morning doing my spiritual practice. I'm just saying, sometimes you got to change the words, folks. You got to make it work for you. But that keeps me going. Oh, I haven't had my date today. Okay, let me do it. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've found over the years that the more I commit to the morning, I get out of bed and do what I have to do at the bathroom, and then I get back into bed. And I don't leave that bed again until I've finished what I've decided that I'm to do as my spiritual practice. Yeah. And it's something that has become a habit. So I feel very uncomfortable if I don't do it, and it doesn't not get done.
Well, I hear you, because I know if I'm going out the door and I haven't done my spiritual practice, and you have to, I know it takes me 2 hours from the time I need to do something. So that means I have to get up 2 hours early to get all the stuff in spiritual practice and then be able to leave. So I know, so I add 2 hours or whatever I'm doing. And so that's also creating the space that happens. And
at the temple, we have a sign on the podium, on the lectern, that says diligence.
Yep.
And that has been there for eternity, since eternity. And
now, what would be fun if you took it away and see if anybody missed it.
Yeah, but
that would be interesting.
The idea is to have it. But I get what you're saying, that are we paying attention to it? Steve says, so do we break the clay pot and do handle and pot over to be fired? Sounds like yes, Steve. So do we break the clay pot and do handle and pot over to be fired?
What I would do is to create a new pot.
New pot. Yes.
That's
Mhm.
what I, and this time put the handles on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not the only way, but that's what I would do with it. Yeah. But it
Mhm.
is that the goal is creating a spot for spiritual practice, making it a part of your day.
Mhm.
That's
What
the
I'm
place.
gonna offer here to you all, you probably have read it, or if you haven't read it, you may want to get it. A New Design for Living
Mhm.
by Ernest Holmes. So those people who are, trying to figure out, what is my purpose? What am I here for? You get to design your life. You get to design it. So he takes you through processes, you get to read, and you then identify what your purpose is. Because in doing that self-inquiry and doing that deep work, you identify what brings you joy. You identify your skill sets. They're gifts. You're endowed with those things. So I would offer that anybody who's at that point where you're examining your life and you want the rest of your life to be the best of your life, here's an opportunity to design it. You're the architect.
Perfect.
That's
And-
exciting.
Yeah. And the thing that I love what Michelle has offered. You guys have so many great, I won't even tell you how blessed you are to have Reverend Michelle. So that
Thank
I'm
you.
only partial. But the piece the thing is that sometimes people will say, well, but I'm 78, but I'm still here.
Correct.
So let go of that age stuff.
Mhm.
As long as we're still here, still breathing, we have time. I haven't given up on
That's
having a
in the
partner.
backpack.
I have
That's
not
in
given.
the backpack.
I haven't given up having that partner yet. And I'm
Mhm.
78. If he shows up and we have 1 year. So it is not
Awesome.
letting that age thing stop us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
see, we have beliefs around age.
Yeah.
My body is different. I have a male friend who just got married, and he says, Sandy, for half my life I chased good-looking women. They needed to look a certain way. They needed to be nice and tight with things pointing upwards. And then so I'm now 72. I got sick. There's this woman I was talking to for a long time. She was my friend. And when I got sick, she came up and she nursed me. And I decided that she's the one that I want. And he said, I don't care if her chest is pointing down to the bottoms of her feet. That doesn't matter to me anymore.
Mm.
I just want what's in her heart.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Priorities.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. We get to a point, and really the pandemic helped us with all of this to
Yeah.
really, peel the onion back and identify what's really essential, what's really, the essence of our life. And so people's priorities did shift and change. And that's why we had, mass exodus, people leaving, corporations. They wanted to get in touch with their authentic selves. They wanted to express themselves in different ways that corporations don't allow you to show up and to be. Yeah.
Oh. We're about to wrap up. It's about 7 minutes to the top of the hour. Reverend Ruth, what final words would you have for us?
The final word that comes to me is that count ourselves lucky
Mm,
that we are a part of a teaching that provides us tools to change our mind and transform our lives. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I got to go out and buy a book, or I got to buy this. It's all here. I always think we are sort of like an iPhone. You know how an iPhone come with all those apps on them?
mhm.
I don't know about you. I haven't used a lot of mine, but I'm just saying. So that's how we come in the world. We have a joy app. We have a fun app. The question is, have we used it?
Yeah,
So that would be my piece.
yeah, I like that. And putting it in the language of today, that we have all these apps that we don't access.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have a device that is not being fully utilized to its max.
Yeah.
Steve likes that, the idea of life. He says, sweet.
Good. Now I have tried to do a TikTok, but I haven't posted them yet. I mean, why not?
Well, I just discovered today AI notes. So I will never take notes for meetings. I'm going to download the AI app, buy a speaker for my laptop. Everything gets recorded. And so you never have to write again. So embracing the technology
Oh
and,
yeah, yeah. I've
and
done the
staying
AI.
current.
Zoom?
Yeah.
That's on Zoom?
No, you have to download the app on
Oh,
your phone or your
Yeah,
computer. It's
you can.
called
So part of the
AI
rest of my life is
notes.
to get more technically competent. So
Mm.
there are, and I think what perhaps could work for some of us is to write down these things and then create a plan to make them happen. Yeah. So, I would like to. I wish I could. Some of these things are sort of
No.
early in our minds.
I am doing. I
Mhm.
enjoy doing. I've
Yeah.
had
I
fun.
get to do.
So
Yeah.
language it differently is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, I would have been saying I am going to Barbados one day.
Mhm.
I am going to I'm going to South Africa one day. So I didn't want to limit myself. So I was just excited about being able to go.
Oh, and you did it twice. Imagine
Yeah.
that.
And
Wow.
it had to do with me just getting, I was like, can I don't know anybody, blah, 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 blah. But once I put that thing in the mail, came back, somebody invited me to be a speaker. Can you
Mhm.
see? Yeah.
Okay.
Is it
Okay,
time to
so,
close?
yes, just about. Reverend Michelle, can I ask you to just do a quick wrap up and thank you? And then I'll ask Reverend Ruth, I'll ask you to do our closing,
Sure.
treatment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, she disappeared off the screen.
Oh, okay. Oh. Yes, so she did. No, oh, so she's gone off camera.
Oh,
Reverend
okay.
Michelle?
I'm back, but
Oh.
the retreat is tomorrow, and so I'm getting all these last minute calls.
Oh, okay.
Sorry
Oh,
about that.
yes. Everything in divine order. So we're just asking you to just do a quick thank you to Reverend Ruth, and then I'm asking her to do the closing affirmative prayer.
Awesome. So, Reverend Ruth, I just want to say thank you for always saying yes. She never refuses me. But then too, I never refuse her.
That's true. Very true. Very true.
And I've loved our relationship over the years, and you still continue to be a role model for me and an example of what's possible. So thank you so much for inspiring my life.
Mhm.
I hear you.
Yes,
My
okay.
gift, my pleasure. Yeah.
Yes, it really was an awesome experience having you. And so, sorry, I'm just seeing a light up in the chat. Let me just look at that. Oh, no, we touched on that already. Okay, okay, so, yes, so we can ask you to close for us now.
So I'm just simply take this moment to, first of all, be grateful for what was the young man? Was it Vance?
Vance
and
and
Steve,
yeah.
and Sandy and Reverend Michelle, and those of you who showed up to create an audience. So simply grateful for your time and your willingness and your support. And so as we close this out, let's take a moment to breathe in, simply reminding ourselves of the breath of life, breathing in and releasing. Again. Again. I'm simply grateful for this opportunity to be present to these magnificent spiritual beings, knowing that just where they are, they're whole and complete. They're here out of the magnificent knowingness that they are divinely connected, that they're here representing the divine. So simply grateful for their center, grateful for their vision, grateful for each person who shows up to create the outline, the focus, the clarity, the energy, to have life be magnificent. And so I'm grateful for making whoever is responsible for making the rest of your life the best of your life, that we continue to embrace that. And it can be after, it could be at 78, it could be at 10. wherever we are is the perfect time to do that. So simply grateful for those who created this opportunity, grateful for each person who showed up, knowing that our time together is blessed. And I know that each person, as they leave here, they move forward with an idea of what's next for them, who they are, what are they willing to let go of, what are they willing to create. For I know we're all here on a magnificent assignment to create a world that works for everyone, that we're willing to step into our own magnificence, because we're all magnificent. It's not this person, it's not like this person, that it's all of us. So I'm simply grateful for this golden opportunity to be present to this group and to share and to be and to know the truth. And so for this and so much more, I say thank you, Spirit. Thank you for this golden opportunity. Thank you for each person who arrives where they're going safely and inspired. And I simply release my word, knowing that it is done and is done magnificently. And together we affirm, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you so much, Reverend Ruth. Friends, we've come to the end of another Lifeline for this month. And if you feel moved to support our ministry, please visit our donate page at Temple of Light. Sorry, let me say that again, at donate.templeoflightcsl.org, and just hit that donate button. And we welcome your support as you help to enable us to continue to be a beacon of light in the world. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you again and again and again. Love and blessings to you all. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.